I guess we'll just make this a vlog about my sleep problems at the moment. I thought getting up earlier would mean I'd be able to make better use of the day and get through some of the video ideas on my list, but I can feel my energy is just already dropping off and it's not gonna happen. So, yeah, sleep. Gosh, I look like I'm so scruffy today. I mean, I know I'm scruffy every day, but I just feel like I look scruffier than normal. I don't know. Anyway, so what? It's 10:43 a.m. as I start filming this. That is about, what, 15 minutes before I'd normally drag myself out of bed these days. But I've been out of bed since 8 a.m. and I was awake. Well, I sort of woke up on and off throughout the day, but 7 a.m. is when the last sleep ended, and I was woken up by noise around the place and just sort of in bed, brain doing strange things. Oh my god, won't get into that. But yeah, no, I just dragged myself out of bed at 8 and then watered the garden. Watered my plants, not the whole garden. And then, instead of having breakfast or my cup of tea, I went for a walk with my dog down a huge hill to go and get some free jacarandas. I got you a picture, actually. I actually set this up. Yeah, free jacarandas! I went on a walk, carried them up a big hill again, and now I have 4 little baby jacarandas, which is great because ones I grew previously died because of it wasn't scale, it was aphids, I think, and I tried to treat them, and I guess I didn't do it well, and then yeah, I tried to grow some more from seed and they just never germinated, so now I've got some that someone locally grew, and I picked up 4 because that's as many as I could carry, which is probably a good thing I couldn't carry anymore because otherwise I would have taken all of them because I'm a little bit addicted to plants, and I swear I did not get up early just to go and grab them. I saw them last night on a local group and I was like, ah! But I figured by the time I wake up, not only would it be midday and the sun would be horrible because it's summer in Sydney, but yeah, I thought by the time I got there they'd be gone. But no, I got there this morning and there they were, and who am I? What is going on? Why am I awake and all that? Yeah, and then I came back, cooled down because I was already sweaty even though the day hadn't heated up. I guess the humidity and then me exercising, and oh no, I hate being sweaty and it's gross, so I cooled down, and then I had my breakfast and my cup of tea under the aircon. Oh my god, aircon. I would not be surviving right now without that, although I don't have it on in here because at least it's okay in here. Our house is one of those old ones that has some pretty decent insulation built in, and I'm in the coldest part of the house, so yay, like naturally coldest and darkest, which kind of suits me. Anyway, no, I was talking about sleep problems, right? So as I said, that little plant detour, I don't know, there's just a part of my brain that's like plants and I can't stop growing them, even though it's like taking over more and more of my parents' garden, and they kind of just are like, alright, as long as I keep growing them like cucumbers and tomatoes and stuff like that, I think mum's okay with it. But yeah, it's getting out of control because I keep making cuttings and then they keep growing and they're not supposed to grow that easily, and nothing much is dying these days, so I don't know what I'm going to do with all these plants because they're already getting a bit out of hand and I have too many, but now I've got 4 jacarandas on top of it. Oh dear, I have too many hobbies and not enough energy. But yeah, no, today, like, what often happens when I wake up early or get out of bed early, I'm awake early every day, but when I actually get out of bed early, what often happens is probably around this time of day, I start losing a lot of energy, and it's really tempting to go back to bed for a nap, and so I'm trying not to. I'm making a video instead of having a nap, but it's really hard. I'm so tired, and it's hard to concentrate, and that's probably why this video keeps meandering back to plants instead of sleep problems like I said I was going to talk about. But okay, no, so like, sleep is one of those fundamental things, and if you don't get enough sleep, you're screwed, basically. I mean, that's why sleep deprivation is a cult brainwashing tactic and used in, I don't know, torture and stuff. Sleep deprivation's really bad for you. If you don't get enough sleep for long enough, you can just die. So the fact that I'm still functioning, well done me, and being stubborn or stupid, I don't know. I should just go into a coma and never wake up again. But no, so like, I've mentioned a lot of this stuff before, but it's flared up in the last while. Like, I made that live stream, the last live stream I made. That was actually a good live stream. 3 hours is a little bit too long, and I remembered afterwards why I stopped doing long live streams and why I set a time limit. Like, I'd forgotten that I'd set a time limit, but at some point I was like, I won't stream for more than 1.5 hours if it's talking. I realized afterwards why. Well, I remembered it, and then I'm like, that's why I do that, because it's too tiring, and my voice gets tired and all that. But then that night, like, it took me a while to wind down and get to sleep, and then in the morning, my little brother woke up at 4:30 in the morning again, which, like, yes, I stayed up too late. But anyone with a more normal sleep pattern would not want to wake up at 4:30. It's only like ridiculous morning people who wake up that early, and most morning people don't even wake up that early. So, 4:30, and it's just like I could not function, and that's why there's like the big gap between that live stream and then me attempting to make a video today and constantly losing my train of thought, going off on little tangents. Anyway, no, and then he had a few more days of 5:30 a.m. starts, and like, actually, I don't know, there might have been another 4:30 in there somewhere, I don't even remember. Like, how am I supposed to remember anything when I'm not sleeping well? The last few days, last 3 mornings, including today, he's woken up around 6 or just before, so that's not been as bad as 4:30 or 5:30, but it's still pretty early for me, and then there's noise usually goes on for about an hour or so, depending on what's going on, and it's just like, yeah, but, slightly better the last few days. That might be why I'm managing some level of functioning. The time that I go to bed fluctuates, and, if I go to bed earlier, often I can't sleep for ages anyway, so it's just lying in bed, not really getting much benefit from it. And I also exacerbating stuff. So actually, Brain, can you sort your thoughts into some kind of order? My God. So the last few days, even though he's gotten up at 6, which is a bit later, thank God, they happen to be the same nights that I've really not slept well through the night and keep waking up and keep feeling like I haven't slept, so great. But yeah, no, like, I think one factor in some of those early wake-ups, because I think every night I wake up at stupid hours for no reason. I think some of it, though, is because my brain has gotten used to him waking me up at stupid hours, so it, like, preemptively wakes up, and then he doesn't wake up, and it's like, oh, okay, and then go back to sleep, and then I get into, like, the deep sleep, the good part of sleep, and then he decides to wake me up, and so I'm screwed up there. And then, like, my parents try, but I don't think they quite understand, and they can't hear what's going on, and there's been a bit of, like, interpersonal bullshit going on there, and then I've realized other things about my life and my childhood and how home life is progressing and things that are holding me back in therapy, which I'm not sure that I want to go into in this video, because there's reasons, but I don't know, it's just like there's all this crap going on that's made me more tense as well, and that makes it harder to get some rest, and it's just like this whole situation, it's a bit like and so I'm not sleeping well, and I think, like, ideally, if I could get the period of time that I try and sleep, if I could, like, make it earlier and earlier gradually, that might be a way to sort it out. But unfortunately, because of the way that things happen around here, with everyone being morning people and all that, it's really difficult. So, like, what happens is I'll go to bed anywhere between 11:30 and at worst 2 a.m. Those are the sort of bedtimes. I try and make it, like, closer to midnight, but some nights it's just, even when I go to bed at midnight, I might still be awake at 1 a.m. anyway, and, sometimes, yeah, I'm trying, it doesn't always happen. Okay, I'm doing the best that I can, and some days, like, also, if I've been on, like, a really bad depressive spiral where I want to just, like, delete myself, On those nights, I can't help it. I'll just be awake, and the best thing for me to do is to find a distraction so that I stop thinking about deleting myself. Okay, so it's not always my fault that I'm awake late. Sometimes that's just the coping I have to do. That's what I have to do to get through the night and make it to the next morning at all. So, yeah. I know, it's like it would be better if I could get my own bedtime in order, but there are some things that I just can't control and things that are a higher priority, such as just surviving. Okay, cool. And then I'll get to bed and at some point sleep and have a few wake ups during the night at various times. Last night it was 2:15 I woke up, so last night I actually did get to bed at 11:30. 2:15 a.m. I woke up, and then again just before 4 a.m., and then my little brother woke up at 6. And like, if I wake up myself, that is less stressful, but if he wakes me up, and especially if I've been in a really good sleep, it just, like, triggers a whole bunch of stress in my brain, and then it makes it harder to fall back asleep, and yeah, and then thoughts start happening, and memories about, and then realizing what my situation's really like, realizing what my childhood's really like. More and more stuff keeps coming up. Like, every few months I seem to have a new realization about things, and yeah, I don't know, maybe I'll make a video about that at some point, but I think I'm probably too tired to, like, judge what I should say and what I shouldn't say. Anyway, so what happens, he'll wake up anywhere between 4:30 and 6 a.m. these days. Since he had COVID, I think last year or whenever it was, his sleep patterns have gotten really variable, and it's been really difficult for me. So when he wakes up, then there's that period of time where he's making noise, and then there's the noise of people sorting him out, and, like, people walking up and down the hall, and then depending on whether or not, I think some days I might be more sound sensitive than others, but also, like, whether or not people have closed the right doors and all that, and then how noisy he is out in the kitchen area. Once he's out in the kitchen area, usually I don't hear him too much, and he'll stay there for maybe an hour and a half at the most, so I can sometimes get that hour and a half of sleep, and then he'll go to the other end of the house, walk past my room again, because I'm, like, in the middle of the house, which doesn't help, I suppose, but everything connects to the hallway, so it doesn't make much difference. But yeah, then he'll walk through to the other end of the house and wait there for half an hour until the next carer comes, and then there'll be more noise, and then everyone will fuck off, and finally I can get some peace and quiet around the place. And so, like, what happens is, if he wakes up at 4:30, for example, he might not leave this end of the house until 8. So that's like 3.5 hours of just not being able to sleep. Today was a bit unusual. At 6 o'clock, his carer went in 15 minutes later, and I was able to get to sleep, but then they woke me again at 7. That was a bit weird, but usually I just can't sleep once he wakes up. So those 4:30 a.m. starts, 3.5 hours of just, like, I'm too tired to get up and do anything, but I can't sleep because of the noise and then some of the stress that goes on in my brain. Then from, like, maybe 8 to 9:30, sometimes I can get scrape in that sleep. Most times I think I can scrape in that sleep. And then wake up again, and then often still not be able to function, be too dizzy to get out of bed. So then I have to wait half an hour to an hour for things to get quiet again and me to fall asleep again, and then I'll get up at 11. And so, like, I have all these patchy things, and when you add it up, like, there's these huge gaps of time where I'm in bed but I'm not able to sleep, and it's just unproductive time, and it stretches out the amount of time I spend in bed. So, like, if I went to bed at midnight and then I can't even get up until 11, that's like 11 hours in bed, but a huge chunk of it has been just because I can't sleep. And then I run out of time during the day, and I think sometimes that also helps keep me up because my brain's like, haven't done all these things that I was supposed to get done, and so it can push my bedtime back again. It's just like this horrible cycle of not being able to sleep properly. And I try all the things, like, I try the fucking breathing meditation exercises. I try, like, imagining stories and stuff to try and get to sleep. But sometimes, like, there's a point where my brain is, like, just sleepy enough that I'm no longer able to concentrate on those techniques, but I'm awake enough that like I'm not really sleeping, and then the brain will go and do whatever it wants and think about whatever it wants, and that's not always helpful to getting to sleep. So there's a lot of bullshit going on in there. And then yeah, the home situation, and I've sort of been trying to think of alternatives, but you know, like I sleep best in my own bed, in my own space. When I've been like on holidays and stuff, often I struggle to sleep in a strange bed. When I was living with my ex, hard to sleep in that bed. Yeah, just like being in strange places doesn't help me sleep anyway, and so it's hard to figure out a solution. And I'm just like, at this point, what I really need to do is win the lotto, buy myself my own house, and live in that, and have things be quiet. But yeah, like, I don't really have life skills, I realize, and you know, like even just the idea of having to go to the shops and buy something, never mind cooking it, just going out to buy something to make sure I have something to eat. I'm a little bit concerned that I would even struggle with that, and I don't know, maybe like I've been thinking about, could I apply for NDIS to get funding for therapy, but now I'm like, maybe I need funding for NDIS just to get people to look after me if I ever did move out, because like one of the reasons I've thought it's impossible to move out is because I don't know that I would look after myself. Like there's and then, you know, I think also the isolation is a bit risky because, you know, if I'm sort of left to myself to think about stuff, I can see that going badly, but on the other hand, the interpersonal stuff at home can be kind of rocky, so who knows? And I've like been reading stuff and looking up stuff and considering things and getting ideas even from dog training. Like there's a dog training channel, Beckman's Dog Training, and I realize I'm not a doggo, but there's some stuff occasionally that comes up in that, and I'm like, that sounds like my situation, except that I'm not a dog. And how would you fix that in a human context? And I know I'm sort of getting a little bit vague because I don't want to go into details, and I've realized I've already rambled for ages and I feel like I haven't really said a huge amount, but hey, I've managed to stay awake and it's 11 a.m. I wonder if I can stay awake for a bit longer and film some of those other videos, or just stay awake, because if I go back to bed, that's going to make it harder to get to bed tonight. I don't know, like I had that cup of tea, and tea is meant to have caffeine, but quite often like it'll happen, like I'll have these days where I wake up early, I'll have the cup of tea and then just the energy is gone. And then I've read some advice that's like, you should wait 90 minutes after you wake up before you have your caffeine. And I'm like, well, I did that, didn't I? And I still feel dead tired. It hasn't helped at all. Blah, blah, cortisol, whatever. I don't give a shit. I still feel tired. And, you know, advice I've been given, don't have 2 cups of tea in a day. And I'm like, but the tea I have is actually quite weak. I have Lady Grey tea because when I was younger, I'm like, that's my tea. And I just like it. But yeah, like, you know, the caffeine just doesn't seem to be, even sometimes in the afternoon, I'll have my cup of tea, and depending on what the day's been like, the caffeine does nothing and I just go back to sleep anyway. I might have an afternoon nap if I'm doing really badly, and so I think I worry like probably today that's what's going to happen, is I'll push through, but at some point in the afternoon I'll just crash and I won't be able to concentrate on anything and I'll just fall asleep, or like, you know, sort of crawl into bed, and before I know it, it'll be dinner time and I'll be like, shit. So I'm kind of thinking, should I just go to bed now for a bit? It's 11 o'clock. Should I just have should I just have a nap now and get it over with, and then hopefully I'll be able to function in the second half of the day, and then maybe get enough done that I'll sleep well tonight? Or does it not matter? If I have a nap at any point in the day, am I screwed? I don't know how to approach that. So, yeah, I'm in a weird kind of like, dilemma. And, yeah, that's sort of a really tired ramble, and I'm sorry if it's been hard to stay on topic, you know, thinking about me plants. All jacarandas. We used to have a jacaranda tree hanging over our garden from the neighbors, and we'd get the purple flowers every year. But then a branch fell and they decided to take it out because it fell into our side, and maybe they were worried that we'd cause a stink, because they're the kinds of people who cause a stink about everything, and yet they're the ones with the leaf blowers. Oh my god. Anyway, so yeah, it's hard for me to focus just like on what do I even make a video about. But then I remember I'm not a real YouTuber. I don't need to have a set topic and like, make things good for algorithms or whatever the heck. So, yeah, rambly vlog, whatever. And shout out to Soulscribe Chronicler, and the Patreon people, and people buying my shirts. And oh, let me get rid of this. You can see no more drum kit. I've moved it into the other room, and so now I have heaps more space, but I still want to like clean up a lot of the stuff over here. It's just there because right now I haven't decided where to put stuff, and I'm too tired to think about it all the time. Like the past week, it's been so hard to focus, and there are things that I want to do or things that are on my to-do list, and I just can't. Like, if I'm so tired all the time, it's hard to make decisions about where things go, and then, yeah, just getting anything done is so difficult. So yeah, today's been weird so far in that I was able to get up early and go for a walk early and, go and get me plants. But now, in the middle of the day, in 11 a.m., this would be the time of day that I'd be dragging myself out of bed. And I think because I've changed the routine, my brain just wants to go back to bed, because it's like we haven't had that last bit of sleep. And that last bit of sleep that I usually get when everyone's left the house, that tends to be when my brain like finally feels like, okay, we can get out of bed. Like, I never really wake up feeling refreshed or anything, but that's when I stop feeling dizzy and I'm like, I just have to get up, and I'm able to start functioning as my brain begins to ramp up. And then, towards the end of the day, that's when my brain is properly working, about as well as it works these days. Yeah, and I think some of the morning routine, because I'm used to things. Oh, let's just get rid of the Patreon things. I got more stuff to ramble about. Yeah, I know. If I was a good YouTuber, I wouldn't make it sound like the video is ending, because apparently that causes people to drop off. They think, oh, video's ending, I'll go and watch something else. But I mean, any of you who know me by now should know that I'll have another idea and keep going and going. It's like that live stream. Like, it was a good live stream and we covered a lot of stuff, but I think from memory, there was a dip about 2 hours in, and I talked about some, I don't even remember, but then I have a sense that like it picked up again and I talked about something more interesting again. But I think by that point, anyone either there on the day or watching on a replay probably were like, oh, that's where all the good stuff is ended. But no, I have this sense, I don't remember what I said, but I have a sense that there was something good that happened towards the end of that. I'm sorry, I can't be bothered to go back and watch and tell you what it is. But anyway, no, yeah, I'm just chaotic. What was the thought that I was having? So I think like, with the waking patterns, like I said, my brain waking up, sometimes I just wake up at 4:30 anyway, because my brain expects my brother to wake up and destroy my life, which, has been going on for 30 years, really. But anyway, no, I've been, like, lately, my brain just expects him to wake me up at some stupid hour, and so it wakes up by itself, which at least is less stressful than if I'm actually woken from a deep sleep. But yeah, because he's had that pattern, then my brain has absorbed that pattern, and now it's part of just the terrible sleep pattern I'm in. But also, before the NDIS, he used to leave the house at 8:30 to go to his day program, whereas now he stays home until 10, and then a carer, like, there's a carer changeover, and then he'll leave the house at 10. So previously the house would be quiet at 8:30. Now it is not. And 8:30, though, still seems to be when my brain feels like this is the time to sleep. And so, if they don't take him out to the back room and get things quiet again, I can get really grumpy, because that's when my brain really wants to sleep, because that's when my brain is used to being able to sleep. But now also my brain's picked up that 10 o'clock, after 10 o'clock, that's when things get quiet again, and so now my brain wants to sleep at 10 o'clock, and so, 9:30 noise, oh my god, can't sleep, 10 o'clock, finally everyone leaves, and then I get into this deep sleep until 11. It's like, I think because of the situation that I'm in, my brain's gotten into some of these patterns, and so I think that's made a few things difficult there, and makes it hard to break out of that, because that's just, my brain's just adapting to what I have to work with. Yeah, and that sucks. And then I think, other things that have affected my sleep in terms of long-term shit is like in early adulthood, I think, like late teens, early adulthood, I did try to become more of a morning person, because, like, teenagers naturally sleep in. Our sleep changes as we age and develop, and as you get older, you're supposed to become more of a morning person, and I did try to become more of a morning person, but what used to happen is my parents would just have me feeding my brother. He's disabled, sorry if I didn't mention that to anyone who managed to get to this point without knowing who I am. They'd make me feed him avocado, and just, he's kind of gross, to be honest. Like, I don't want to be politically correct, he is kind of gross, and so that would just gross me out, and it's like, why get up early if I'm just gonna have to do that? And so I would sleep in, and I think that might be where I failed to get out of the teenager sleeping cycle. I realize some people think I'm still a teenager, but I'm not, so and I think some of that probably influenced me to have this late pattern, because why get up early? It's just going to be a waste of time anyway. That. And then I think also, like, one of the reasons I stay up late is, like, realizing early on that's when it gets quiet and I have some time to myself instead of all the chaos of home life. And so I think there's some, like, deeply entrenched stuff there that I'm also fighting with, along with my current situation. And it's just, I don't know. I need to win the lottery and just get out of here. Increasingly feel like that. But, moving out, there's so many, like, safety issues and issues with just my life skills and my willingness to live at all. There's a lot of things that have to be managed, and it's just like, I'm trapped. And if I go on, I'll get into some of the other stuff that I don't want to be too explicit about at this point in my life, because I don't feel like there's certain things I can talk about just out there, even though relevant people don't watch my YouTube, so I'm so tired. Oh well, I managed to stay up for another 10 minutes. It's 11:10 a.m. Now what am I going to do to stay awake? That's going to be the real tricky thing. But so once again, Solo Scribe Chronicler and my Patreon and my t-shirt cult. Maybe I should try and make new t-shirt designs, or will that work make me sleepier? That's a tricky thing, because if I'm concentrating too much, sometimes my brain's just like, nah, too much, time to sleep. I'm just going to shut down. Shit, I don't know how I'm gonna stay awake. I could go and, like, read in the other room now that everything's set up, or I could try and make some music, but I just have this sense that I'm not gonna make it. I'm gonna have a nap. I'm trying not to, but it's inevitable at this point. Oh well. And I'm running out of, like, I've still got time that I could make more videos, but I just can't. I can't do it. So I'll catch you whenever I catch you. But if I don't make videos, it's because I'm fucking exhausted.